Hi, everybody. What a beautiful introduction. I don't really have to say anything anymore about the topic, so you're all up to date. And as well, we already got introduced to our amazing panelists. I'm really, really happy that you all made your way from India, from Sweden, from Mannheim. It's a travel, right? Here to Berlin, and welcome everyone of you as well for the second day here at the Green Tech Festival. Steel. It's a really, really big topic in the current transformation of climate change, and there's so much things going on. So, of course, I could introduce you a little bit more, but I would love to maybe give the word to you, Arvind. First, maybe you can say a little bit more, what are you doing in your day-to-day job? What is your company doing? And then, what is your viewpoint actually on our topic around sustainable steel?
So first of all, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dell, inviting me all the way. I flew from India. Luckily, I could make it just 5 minutes before I came. And thank you, Anna. And thank you, my co-panelists. I'm Dr. Arvind Bodhankar, work as a Chief Sustainability Officer with ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. ArcelorMittal, all of you know, world's second largest steel producer. And Nippon Steel, also Japan's large steel producer. We came together in India. And we are setting, we already, 5 years old company in India. We set up our steel plant first, now expanding to almost 40 million tons. We currently have 10 million ton capacity in India. All of you know, steel is, really hard to abate sector and always seen as a culprit as far as climate change is concerned. Steel contributes almost 12% to the global CO2 pool. And that's why there is a huge pressure on steel industry to cut down on the emissions. And my company emits in India particularly, it emits almost 16 million tons of CO2, which is too large. And lots of efforts are being taken over there to cut down on the CO2 emission. But I'm very happy if, India is growing in double digit as far as steel is concerned. The CO2 emission footprint is also growing at the same pace. But what we are doing is, we are there are 900 odd companies, 950 odd companies in India which produces steel. And India produces almost 180 million tons of steel, and which is likely to reach to 300 million tons in another few years of time. But I'm very proud that my company has the lowest CO2 footprint as far as steel is concerned. And this is because of various initiatives what we are taking, may it be moving from coal to natural gas, may it be moving from scrap, may it be process efficiency, use of artificial intelligence, all those kind of things we are doing to cut down on the emissions. And we also have a roadmap further till 2030 to cut down further 20 to 25%, and then thereafter take deep decarbonization measure to achieve net zero. And so a lot of efforts, I will take a pause over here, and maybe when you ask next, I can dwell more upon what initiatives or what levers or what interventions we are doing.
And I think we would really love to learn as well, what did you do to reduce the CO2 footprint? And I think we can talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Going to you, Fredrika. Polestar, beautiful car. You're using a lot of steel. What is your work as a head of sustainability and your viewpoint on the whole topic about sustainable steel?
Yeah, so I work with cars. I eat, sleep, and breathe climate sustainability and cars. And our industry stands for 15%. The automotive industry stands for 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. We know that we are a big polluter. But we also know that we have a very impactful climate solution, the electric car. But it needs to be scaled to really meet the climate crisis. If we don't scale it and secure that it's widespread, it's not the climate solution that it's promised to be. So at Polestar, we're all about advocating for acceleration into the electric mobility, while at the same time, keeping two thoughts in our head at the same time, talking about the fact that EVs are not perfect, they're not sustainable, they're not green. We need to do everything that we can in this transition to really tackle the big share of greenhouse gases that is created when we produce the cars. And we do life cycle assessments at Polestar. So for all of our cars and all of their variants, you can go online and you can see the carbon footprint of the car.
Really transparent.
Exactly. We're trying to really secure that consumers really trust us in this transition, and I think being transparent about the fact that the cars come with a carbon debt is crucial. And in there you see that the majority of the emissions, when we talk about production-related emissions, comes from the battery, the aluminium, and the steel, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Beautiful. And as well, you said like collaboration is a big thing. So I would love to speak with you a little bit more about how actually the whole value chain can work together. And Lucas, you speak with a lot of different corporations around steel and solutions. So what is your perspective actually on sustainable steel?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, or also speaking for ABB, what we do, we support our customers and our partners along the whole value chain for all kind of metals. So focusing on steel, aluminum, other metals as well, and bringing in our portfolio, which is a quite broad portfolio from the whole ABB group, focusing on electrification, automation, metallurgical, but as well as digital solutions. So you try to make visible what is there already. You try to grab a little better, get some better insights in the production. And this we do, as I said, for the whole value chain, working with our customers like big metal producers, but also more upstream. So we also focus on other industries like the mining for the ore. So for us, when it comes to green steel, sustainable steel, I think the definition is quite floating. And as I remember, there's no clear definition of green steel. So maybe our customers do focus on talking about fossil-free steel or sustainably made steel. What does it really mean? And really starts with mining the iron ore. Then you're basically doing the steel making, you're consuming, but also you're recycling. So the circular, I think, economy is really important also for us. So ABB positions themselves with our long tradition, with our long history, working over more than 100 years in this area. We are supporting the customers, we are supporting the industry, how to automate, electrify, and digitalize the industry, to then in the end optimize the production, improve the sustainability. But I really like what responsible steel defines, like there are 13 principles. It's not just low carbon, there's much more to this. So also safety, health and safety, also quality issues, reducing the scrap and having better acceptance, better quality in the end. And again, all this in the circular economy. So there are many, many more facets. Therefore, I'm no big fan of this green steel terminology. I really like the sustainably made as a definition, because it gives an insight that there's a bigger range. There's not just one or two factors, it's really a broad group of factors that we should consider. And with ABB, and we are working together with many of these customers, with many of the panelists here, we do a solid job, and it's a journey. And we also do like to call it a journey, and especially when talking digital. Talking digital, I mean, you have certain ideas in mind, but there's never the solution clear at the beginning. So you're developing it and you're iterating it. And then step by step, you really need to challenge the status quo and reconsider, are you still on the right path? Or do you maybe need to do a certain change? And that's what we are there for, consulting our customers, working together with them to bring this whole value chain together and supporting our customers being more efficient.
Would love to learn a little bit more about it later. Unfortunately, we only have 20 minutes for the panel. So I think overall, we don't have time for Q&A. If there's any question coming up, the panelists will be next to stage after the panel, so feel free to just grab them and talk with them a little bit more in deep. I would love to start maybe with a reality check. So talking about sustainable or green steel, where are we right now? Right now in the production, in the value chain, can we talk already about green steel?
So green steel per se, different countries have different taxonomies. I'm very happy to say that India has come out with a firm, formal green steel taxonomy. Although as compared to Europe, the emissions targets which have been set are little flexible as compared to little liberal, I would say. But that's what is going. India is almost 25 years behind as compared to the global player. Europe has a green taxonomy, I would say EU green taxonomy, not specifically for the steel, but India has specifically for a steel sector. There is something which is coming out in Japan as well, and many places it's in the pipeline. You mentioned about responsible steel. Responsible steel also has come out with a taxonomy, and my own company ArcelorMittal was promoting that green steel taxonomy.
responsible steel, all the 13 elements which are there. Of course, we are following that 13 elements. Now, coming to the green steel taxonomy per se, I would say we are on track. My own company is very much on track. And when primarily that green steel taxonomy which was developed in India was to promote the green steel procurement or send the signals in the market. If you look at in India, 2/3 of development is yet to come, and a lot of steel and cement is going into this development. 65% of the steel is procured by the government infrastructure projects, roads, airports, bridges, all those kind of places, and another 10 to 15% by the automotive sector. So these are the two major sectors, and of course the white goods sectors like washing machine, refrigerator, all those kind of things is there. Government has given a clear signal that 65%, the 25 million tons of steel what they will be procuring will be a green steel. And there are thresholds set 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. So anything below 2.2 per ton of finished steel would be called as a green steel. And we would procure 25 million tons of that steel, which is below 3%, below 2.2 tons per ton of steel emission, and that's the clear signal which government has sent. There will be incentives paid to the suppliers, and I'm very happy that ArcelorMittal would be the first one to meet those requirements, and we will be an early player in that. Now, that has followed by the automotive sector also, because they are also very advanced. And they also want, companies to supply green steel to them as a part of their supply chain sustainability program. And so they are also sending.
Because we have automotive with us. You use a lot of steel for the surrounding. How is your current perspective
on the status?
Yeah, on the status.
I always find it so hard to answer the question, what is the state? Where are we in terms of progression towards, net zero and what we know the climate science asks of us.
What did we achieve already?
Yeah, well, I mean, if I may answer the first question, I mean, the status for the automotive industry is that we're not on track. We are not on track to support the 1.5-degree pathway. We are lagging behind. We put out a report that we call the Pathway Report a few years back, where we, together with Rivian, another electric car manufacturer, did an analysis of the remaining carbon budget for the automotive industry. And we saw that we were on track to overshoot that by 85%. That was a few years ago. It's probably worse now. So, and we know that decarbonization of the supply chains, and in particular, greening of steel, is critical for us to really get within that carbon budget that we have. However, there are players like my neighbor here, but also Swedish SSAB, for example, steel makers who are really giving us a lot of hope that we can accelerate and get to a point where we can bring in much more green steel than we would have expected a few years back. And we have an exciting project called the Polestar Zero project that we launched a few years back, because we saw that we needed to really support the investments that are needed in terms of research and innovation now within, for example, the steel sector. It's so much smarter if we collaborate in open projects rather than, Polestar, BMW, Volkswagen, whoever, paying a green premium price at the end. So within Polestar Zero, we do research. So with SSAB, for example, we've been able to, so the Swedish steelmaker SSAB, we've been able to do research that has helped them to create SSAB Zero, which is a close to zero steel. I think it's 0.05 kilos of CO2 per kilo steel, which is super low carbon, which they can deliver today. And it builds on recycled content and fossil-free energy. Very doable, very scalable. So, yeah, the status is quite bleak, to come back to your question. Not on track, but a lot of exciting projects that are being implemented now that, gives me the hope that we can accelerate and hopefully meet the 1.5 target.
So I think it's beautiful what you say. There are examples you see, there is something changing, there is a movement, there is research. Maybe in your direction, Lucas, like what are things to make steel sustainable? You talked from mining really to recycling at the end, but what are real examples how to create like sustainable steel?
I mean, there are so many examples and there are so many initiatives, and it's really a pity that we only have these 20 minutes of discussion now that are almost half gone.
Oh, we talked already our insights. So.
Yeah, you should have joined in with some camera in the speaker lounge because there were very interesting discussions going on already. But what we said and what you just said, Fredrika, really giving hope to the end customers, to the market, by collaborating, by being active in these many, many initiatives. That's what we are doing. And I always like to refer to this metaphor, what I mentioned earlier, the journey to fossil-free steel, because it is a journey. And then you come at a crossroads. And I think the World Steel Association wrote, it's a crossroads for the metals industry. On the one hand, you need to balance the fast or the reduction of carbon emissions as fast as you can go, as much as you can do. On the other hand, there's an increased demand of the products, of the metals products. You need them for the infrastructure, transportation, construction, packaging. Metals is in our daily lives, and it's for us personally. And for me, it's always a little difficult to explain to my friends and my family at home what I'm doing. But metals is in the daily life, and it's affected by all the raw materials input all across the value chain. Therefore, it's really important to understand it's not one piece you're picking out, but it's many, many initiatives. And I fully understand that you sometimes lose track, you lose focus a little, but then you need to refocus on your circle of influence. That's what my boss always keeps telling me. Only work on what you really can do, but invest fully all your energy in this, and then really commit yourself to doing something. There are certain initiatives. So you ask for examples. One thing we can openly talk about is with ArcelorMittal in France, in Contrisson. So we established a manufacturing operations management system just to have a better visibility, to take the data of the whole production process, to understand better what we are doing. By this, you can improve the production. You have a traceability of your products and process. You have a easier recognition of quality issues, maybe potentially quality issues that arise later, you can see earlier. So reducing the scrap, reducing the waste, also increasing the safety, increasing the data insights. And the easy thing, or I think the easier thing that many people think, is collecting data. You can have a collection of data as much as you want. There's servers all. But what to do with the data? And that's then the second thing. For example, we do have the ABB Ability program where many smart operations, many digital operations are being summarized. For example, there's the smart melt shop. We did some project with JSW Steel in India. So it's really up to how to take the data you have, interpret it in the right way, and be smarter, be more efficient to really increase the efficiency, but also the output. Because you have this, as I said, you're on this crossroads. Reducing carbon emissions, but also increasing the outcomes, so increasing the products and the demand to really then support Polestar and all the others in fulfilling their targets as well. Because you would be stupid just to focus on your own thing. You need to really see the full value chain. I'm repeating myself.
I think these were really good points. And we talked about as well the direction, of course, we may be not achieving the goals we have. And there are so many things to do, but I think as well we should be really proud of things we do. So you already mentioned a few examples of good things where we're going in the right direction. Maybe from your direction, are there any other projects you see right now going in the right direction for more sustainable steel?
Yeah, I mean, all of them have already mentioned. Sustainable steel primarily is fossil-free, this thing, while water and recyclability are the another dimensions. So one more initiative we are taking as far as steel is concerned. Perhaps many of you may not know or may know also that to produce 1 ton of steel, minimum 2.5 tons of raw material is required, and a lot of mining happens, a lot of natural resources are being. So one initiative we are working on is on circularity, circular economy. How can we circulate the more and more this thing and preserve our precious natural resources? That's one of the metric we have included. When we defined our own low carbon steel definition, so that is also one area. So we have identified 41 streams, which are not actually contributing value to steel making. And how can that make, we create value out of it? So currently we are about 11 to 16% on different furnaces on circularity is concerned. So we are circulating, but more and more scrap usage will be one area where we will be focusing. Of course, the emerging economies, the availability of scrap is not so high because steel life cycle is about 20 to 25 years. And if you go back to 25 years, the steel consumption was very, very low in this area, maybe less than 50 kg per capita. But today, it has crossed to almost 100. So maybe a few years down the line, we'll have more recycled scrap material available, and that can be used to reduce the footprint as well.
And that's maybe something to jump on this, because that's really, really important. As I understand that we already do a high recycling of what we have. So of the available scrap, I think about 85 to maybe 90% is already recycled. So there's still some minor potential, but the whole volume is growing. So the absolute numbers is growing, and then the relative for sure is much more important. But it's only one side of the story, as you said, Arvind. There's also then the raw material, so having the iron or having the mining also to be considered. And there, what we also see, you cannot do anything by yourself or everything by yourself. So you need to collaborate. And that's also what you again said, Fredrika, earlier on. What you say, Arvind, collaboration is key. And that's why we are here, I would say, across the whole value chain, sitting, discussing together. And we do not just do it now for 20 minutes. We do it for years already, and we will do it for the next decades to come. Therefore, it's really important to tackle this.
One more point to add. We are tying up, you are our end customers, for your panels and this thing, or the electrical switch gears. And we also work with automotive companies on the reverse this thing. So whatever is that end of life scrap or cut trim which is there in your area or automobile area, that we are taking it back and recycle. So collaboration is one of the area, very, very important area. Yeah.
And I want to shortly build a bridge to Fredrika as well. So we are also electrifying our fleet of company cars, for example. Therefore, having some Polestars in the fleet. So I'm driving a fully electric car. I'm really happy. I'm satisfied with it. So therefore, you see, there's always the involvement. And you cannot think of how many times you're actually involved with the whole value chain. So it's really crucial to understand in your daily life, you face it immediately and all the time.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I feel like
That
we
was
put a
nice.
discount code later here on the screen.
Yeah.
I work on commission base.
Fredrika, maybe in your direction, like at the end, the car is something I will buy. How can you influence your supply chain to really take care more on sustainable material? Sometimes sustainable material are as well higher costs because they're maybe not scaled so much. So how as an OEM can you influence actually this whole sustainable production? And I read it from your side. Sustainability is not nice to have, it's actually an investment in the business. So what are you doing from Polestar there?
I mean, I come back to the fact that we need to be many buyers who together really incentivize the industry to make these changes and to really to see those who are doing great things and to support them. So one of the things that we have done is that we've joined Steel Zero, Climate Group Steel Zero, to really secure that we can come together. So we represent the car industry, but we have different companies using steel in various ways in this initiative. And what we do when we join that initiative is that we all commit to buying 100% net zero steel by 2050, and by 2030, half of the steel that we buy should be low carbon.
Okay, great.
So we send a very clear signal by joining this public initiative to the supply chains that we will really look at what's going on, and we will incentivize you if you are able to help us deliver on this. So I keep coming back to the fact that we need to collaborate, and one thing that really frustrates me is that we do collaborate, like we were saying. You wouldn't believe how much collaboration is going on and how much we are changing in business today. I mean, we all see that this is business critical, but we have policymakers who, for reasons wanting to really please certain groups in society, make it look like we are not in that situation, like it's technically unfeasible to make this change. and that it's not doable, it's not financially sound. I mean, we're hearing so many messages now, and it's simply not true what they're saying. So I'm really, especially at this time when Trump is saying what he's saying, and the EU is doing some things, as we have other policymakers putting out these messages, I really want to make sure that everyone understands that business is stepping up and finance is stepping up. And there's a movement that is stronger than what I've seen in my 15 years of work on sustainability going on right now. So yeah, I have high hopes, but a lot of frustration also in terms of the negative narrative being spread.
We just had the news, right? You saw on your phone beforehand from the...
Yes, the omnibus package.
But so maybe next year, Del, we have somebody from the police, from the political joining this panel. And I would like to actually add a question in this direction, because as well as regulations coming from politicians, you can really change things, right, in the sustainable direction. So are there any regulations out there which industries have to follow next to, of course, intrinsic own motivation?
Yes, regulations are must. Whatever companies are doing voluntarily, they are doing, but there is a limit to it. Regulation will provide a level playing field for everybody, and everybody will have to comply with that. So without regulation, I don't think the companies can be sustainable or the products can be sustainable.
And I mean, we see the impact that they have. Just look at the EU's, and the greenhouse gas emission from EU that has been so positively impacted by the cost on carbon schemes that have been put in place here, the credit schemes, for example, for industries. We need more of that. It's not enough with the ones that we have. They need to create more cost on carbon schemes, taxes, credit schemes. They hold such power, and they help us who want to change. Coming back to, we have the solutions, we just need to scale and accelerate them. That will be done possible by cost on carbon. It's crazy that, it's more costly to buy, Nippon's green steel than the average steel on the market. It's in 2025, that should not be the reality. So we need cost on carbon schemes.
Beautiful. Looking at the time, 1 more minute. I think I have to now close this round. And I would maybe like to look with you in the future. Of course, steel is a long-term product, but if we will meet here again 2030, where do you think we stand?
No, we'll be much better. We'll be in a much better position. As I said, my footprint would have been 25% down as compared to today. And we would have produced a lot of green steel.
Perfect.
Yeah, so in 2030, as I said, 50% of our steel needs to be low carbon. And I hope that many other players have joined that initiative as well, so that we can do our part as customers in incentivizing the amazing thing that is going on in the steel industry.
Perfect, thank you. Lukas.
Coming back to my metaphor of this journey, so we will still be on that journey. We will be a little smarter, looking back what we did and what we did not do, and then we can really think about what to do in the future. Unfortunately, we did not have the chance to talk about all the good things here, so there's so much more to come. So we would not have to meet in 5 years only. We could continue for the next 5 years these discussions, and that's exactly what we should do in the meantime to come to this point in 2030. Keep on the discussion, keep on collaborating, and keep on spreading the word, and then walk the talk to have a better and more efficient way. And in ABB, we now say engineer to outrun, to make it leaner and cleaner, and that's really the target I think we should achieve.
Beautiful ending of this panel. Thank you three so much for your time and traveling here to Berlin. Thank you everyone for listening in, and I wish you a beautiful second day at the Queen Tech Festival.
Enjoy.